Hello and welcome. This is my tutorial to build Evil Chad and its micromaster squad. Before we start even looking into the various parts and how they come together, I wanted to go back to show what I use to build my, let's call them my designs, my sets. So let's start from the left hand side. We have a simple file that is a metal file, and I used it for a while and it's still pretty good at doing its job. So it's very resilient. Let's say it doesn't get ruined very easily, and this is very handy for when you have flat surfaces that need, let's say, further flattening, or if you have corners that need to be aligned and things like that. So that's quite handy. I use a normal blade. I should already change the tip for this one because it's broken, but it still does its job for what I need. So simple blade like that. I got a snipping tool that came with a 3D printer to cut filament. It's gonna be handy to put filament through the joints and cut pegs to the right length. Then on the right hand side here I have a drill. It is an electric drill and it's rechargeable, so you can keep it charged and make sure that those pesky holes are the right size after printing, especially for filament. I hate having to push through filament and ruin things because of that. And then this is a trimmer. Usually I think it's listed on websites as a nail trimmer or things like that, but this is also rechargeable and it will allow me to make sure that certain tolerances fit better after printing. Depending on the filament, certain parts might need a little bit of TLC to make sure that they're smooth or round. For example, ball joints are pretty common that will need sanded down and rounded up a little bit after printing. This glue is my favorite in absolute. It's a gel instant glue, so you just need a little drop on it and it doesn't move, and then you put the other part on it and usually it glues together very quickly, and it doesn't leave any white marks with this brand, usually at least. So I really like it. It's my favorite. Then last but not least, I have a selection of different colors of filament that we're gonna use for the pegs. I took a longer bit of the purple and green because we're gonna use more on the Chad main body, but we might need other bits and bobs for the micromasters. And what I usually do is when I change the filament color when I'm printing it, you always need to take off a little bit, like the ruined bits that come out from the heat sink. So that's when I take the occasion to just take a longer bit and make sure that I store them so that next time that I need to do something like this, that I have plenty. So that's my explanation for why I have this selection of different colors here. And we're probably gonna need some gold for one of the micromasters. Definitely need some purple and green, maybe some white, maybe some black. We're gonna see as we go on. But that's it for the first part. So the first micromaster that we're gonna look at is the one I call Diablo. Now this is based on the micromaster I created for the Menasor set that is Breakdown, I think. Well, it's the beige Lamborghini. So the details that I added to this figure means that there is a lot of parts that need glued. For example, the golden windshields for the arms. Then there is this bumper, spoiler, whatever you want to call it, in a different color, also needs to be glued. And then finally, the wheel needs to be glued. You might want to glue the windshield right away because this part is a bit flimsy, so you risk breaking it when you're moving around the arm. And you might want to glue the wheel first and then the bumper to avoid problems like I had of the wheel not fitting through. So yeah, be wary of that. The same goes for the back. You have another section of the bumper for the leg, and then you have a wheel, so maybe fit the wheel through first and then put the bumper on, and then you can glue everything. One suggestion is always try things as a dry fitting, so don't put the glue on until you tested that it fits, and you don't need to sand down anything further. As you can see here, the legs are already assembled. That's because technically I recorded this video before, but I didn't like it, so I'm trying to re-record it and disassemble everything. But all you need to do is to take some black filament, fit it through, make sure that you use the drill. If you have any clogging from printing, like supports that ended up in the actual holes, once everything fits through easily, then you can assemble it, put the filament through. You can see filament doesn't fall off because it has a natural curvature to the filament. So when you fit it through, it will go in straight, but then it wants to bend again, so it adds friction to the joint. So yeah, that is the legs done. We have the main body here. The ball joints have been sanded down using the nail trimmer so that everything fits correctly. And if you've done it right, then it should pop in fairly easily like that. 1 and 2. And that's the lower part done. For the upper body, so we looked at the arms already, and that just go on the ball joints on the chest. So again, make sure that these ball joints are nice and smooth before you assemble the arms. The backpack is a little complicated in the way that there's so many small parts. So let's start with gluing stuff. So the front part of the car will have another bumper section and a windshield that is the mid section. That needs to be glued in a way that will allow them to fit through filament. Now my part didn't print correctly and a little bit broke off, so I ended up with this version that is not quite what you're gonna get. But yeah, you just want to make sure that you drill through and you have all the holes. This other small section also have pieces of windshield that need to be glued on, and hopefully you can see good enough that that windshield is on and will fit through the various holes. So to assemble this, so here there is already a piece of filament in the back of the chest. So you glue this first bit to the chest. Then if you want, you can glue this piece of filament here, and then you fit through 1/2 of the front part like this. Then you take some gold filament and you fit it through this part. Then finally you take the front and you fit it through so that it's in there. And then finally you take the other part and you close everything up. And that's the backpack built. Easy peasy. Everything should be moving in the right directions so that when you transform in robot mode, the backpack is at 90 degrees this part and then 90 degrees for this part, so that it's flush to the head. And when you transform it into car mode, this goes back 90 degrees, and then the whole assembly should fall down. Oh, I'm breaking stuff here now. Always on the camera. Normally there is enough clearance for that to move without breaking. But this part for me, I think I might have glued it too far back because, yeah. So again, test fitting before you glue to avoid problems like this, but here we go, it's going down, and now it's in car mode. So while we got it there, we can put the head on the chest and just ball joint, and we got the arms ball joint as well, and then finally the bottom half is on a 5mm peg as usual on my micromasters, and it just fits through the chest. And you know, from rubber mode to turn into car, you just fold the legs up like that, and there you have Diablo in car mode. It doesn't have any pegs to keep it together, but everything should be tight enough to look like a car. And then obviously for combined mode, you would just need to split it apart and peg it on Evil Chad leg or whatever you want it to be. So that's Diablo, all finished. The next micromaster is the tank, or tanky, as you will find it in the files. And this is based, well, this is the micromaster I designed for Bruticus. And my friend Campo suggested that I added this into this set. It does actually fit nicely. And I later found out that Evil Chad was turning into a samurai looking figure, and that will fit with Bludgeon. And Bludgeon does have a tank, a green tank, as its pretender form, inside pretender form. So there is an image on my post in Cults or on Creality that will show, you know, what colors you could print Evil Chad as to make it look like Bludgeon, and then to have this guy on the arm like you would have with the original G1 toy. But without further ado, let's assemble this guy. So again, because this is my second run on trying to record this, everything has already been glued, but I'll point out all the pain points. For the arms, it should be fairly easy to align the threads. There is no guide on, you know, pegging them on, you know, how to align things, but, you know, it should be flush with the arms. And that's it. There is not much else to say. These pieces are symmetrical, so it doesn't matter if you mix up left and right, but you want to end up with the arms looking like this. The head is there. The chest piece is special. You want to clear it enough so that it will peg on the chest around the arms. As you may have noticed, this chest piece is quite different from the others, with longer ball joints, studs, so that this will clip on just like that. And then it still transforms. The backpack is just, you know, glue on the back of the chest and glue on the tank cannon like that, and nothing special to say about it. So let's put the head on when we're here. Then for the legs, we got the usual leg joint. I actually just noticed that this has been put on the wrong way around, so let me swap that out. Usually it's as easy as pushing the filament out if you've done something wrong, since nothing is glued. And then, as you can see, this leg has a notch at the front that indicates this is the left leg. That should go with this left leg. And then this tank thread has a hole that allows you to put filament through for this side of the leg. And I'm just gonna use this to help push it through a little bit more. And that's the leg done. So make sure that you have the right tank thread for the leg on, make sure that it fits before you glue it, and then, you know, it still bends and everybody's happy. The other side, the same, glue this part, make sure that everything is clear with the drill or with this, and then we feed through some filament, make sure everything is aligned. Should be fairly easy for this part if it collaborates. Today it doesn't want to collaborate today. In this case, this can also be helpful to pull the filament out. So what is going on here? It's just not aligning for me to push the filament through. Here we go. All done. Everybody's happy. So we got the legs done. As usual, ball joints, make sure you trim them, make sure that they fit. They shouldn't need to be pushed through with too much force, but you still want to hear that popping noise. And sometimes they're a bit loose, but you know, they still serve the purpose of standing when it's a figure, and you know, when you transform it. But yeah, that depends on how much you're sanding and how good your filament is, how good your printer is. So yeah, test fitting or dry fitting before you glue and put filament through and all that kind of stuff to understand if you need to reprint the part or if you're happy with it. Like, as you can see, one leg has much more friction than the other, and that's just unfortunate, but you know, it's not going to prevent us from turning this into what it needs to be. So this time we have pegs for the feet to kind of align together a list. They're not necessarily going to stick together, depending again on how well your printer prints and things like that. To transform into tank mode, we're just going to flip arms up together with the chest to align them. And then we flip the lower part 180 and then fold the legs up so that we now have this aligning with the front tank threads, and we're done. This is tanky in tank mode. It's a bit of a funky one, but it's kind of based on brown again, so it is what it is. But I kind of like it. It feels like it's a quick tank. Maybe I should make a tank mode that is a bit more I don't know, menacing looking, but so far there has not been any need for it. So let's move on to the next one. I forgot to show tanky combine mode because it's slightly different. So on the leg, you will want to put this part facing to you, let's say, while this part you need to move the arms down because otherwise they will not fit flush against the leg. So yeah, for combine mode you might need to fiddle around with these parts and make sure that, let's say, they make sense at the same time as fitting on Evil Chad. But that's how it's kind of gonna look. That's all. Everything pops in. Very easy. And then the arms are also ball joints. You just want to make sure you glue your wheels on, and we're done. That is, let's call it Rocket Kid. I think I called it Rocco in the files. In Robo mode, and for transformation, all you need to do is flip the arms up to align with the backpack. Sometimes it's easier to just pop them off and on because there's a fairly loose ball joint, to be honest. I could probably make it better now. It's a fairly old micromaster. Again, no pegging for these parts coming together, but it will sit nicely on the back like that with those grooves, and that's what your rocket kit looks like in vehicle mode. And for chest mode, this time it splits in two halves, because one half will go as the centerpiece like that, and the other half you want to make sure that you can almost do a full split but in this direction, and then these pieces here will need to fold up like that, and that will peg into the neck piece that will be available on Evil Chad. So this is a bit loose. I might need to glue it together to have, you know, the desired look, or put some, I think I still have some nail polish somewhere. So either way, you want to make sure that you know, that your legs can fold up like that, and then, you know, it'll kind of complete the shield, front shield look for Evil Chad. So that's the only one that really needs particular attention to transform, to add it to Chad. Oh, here is the piece of filament that actually came out. Again, it happens. You might want to bend it a little bit or heat it up a little bit with something before you bend it so it doesn't snap, and then fit it through the leg again. Somehow these holes came out massive on this filament, but it's also the high-speed filament. I think I was testing high speeds on this, but I'm not sure. But either way, that's Rocco all done. So the next guy on the list is Choppy, which is the helicopter that I designed for the Fencer. So I kind of managed to include a micromaster from several designs I've done, which is nice. I'm gonna skip the obvious parts again because, you know, you see me doing arms and heads and legs for a while now. For helicopter, it's a little bit different in the legs because this transform by shifting up and down, but it's the same concept. You have some filament, you push it through, and then, you know, it kind of locks itself with the leg. There is this additional piece that is also on a filament joint that needs to be able to fold back up into the leg. So yeah, as usual, test everything through before, you know, you assemble it so that you know that it works. Otherwise, the leg for robot mode is like that, and then the upper body. So you have this backpack with some filament that will go through the pieces here. So again, drill through the holes, make sure everything is fine. But this rotor blade, I'm actually using what I call a Lego technique joint here, where you have to press it together and fit the blade hole through so that it clips and it allows movement. So effectively, when this is in helicopter mode, you can actually rotate the blades. So for this reason, you want to make sure that this fits through without struggling too much. So what I suggest is that you might need to snip off a little bit of the sides so that when you close it, it fits through the hole. But then when it opens up again, because there is a gap there, it will, you know, lock everything in place and, you know, nothing falls off. So that's the only thing about that part. The second part is there is no guidance on the backpack gluing on the chest. So what I suggest is that you assemble this part and then you fit it to the chest with the head already attached so that you can see how it aligns, and then you glue it. Like, as you can see, I put more glue than I needed probably, but you know, it's all nice and solid. So for rubber mode, you want to fold this. Now the hinge of the backpack should fit through the rotor blade notches so that it locks the rotor blade in rubber mode. If it doesn't, then you want to sand it down a little bit. But as you can see now, it doesn't move. And then obviously the arms are there, the legs are there, and then this connects through. It's a bit difficult when you have so many parts. And here we go. We have Choppy in rubber mode. Oh, the hand is flipped. Choppy in rubber mode. That's how it looks. To transform it, you want to flip the tail out. Make sure that is turned 180, so you might want to disassemble it if you have a problem with that. The tail has notches and holes to peg together this time securely, and then you push it against the backpack so that nothing moves anymore. Although, again, mine is a bit on the loose side, so things tend to move, but you know, once it's down, your helicopter is fine. On the copy I printed for the fencer, this whole thing was a bit more tight and didn't have any problems securing it. The arms just fold in. The head, if you want, you can flip around, and then the front of the helicopter from the backpack folds down. The first times might feel a bit tight, but you know, eventually filament PLA will level itself out and give you that smoother transition. But here it is, helicopter, or say Choppy in helicopter mode. For combined mode, you split it in half as usual. Nothing much to do with the upper part, but if it annoys you that the rotor spins around, then you can obviously fold this down, but then you reveal the head. So I prefer to keep it with the head up. For the arm, on the other hand, you want to pull this out and then fold it up and then angle it a little bit so that when it goes into the arm, this, let's say, is the front. So effectively, this is the look that you will have on the arm to some degree. So if you have a better view like that. So this will be inside the lower part of the arm with the first down here where my finger is. And then this will be covering the upper part of the arm. Okay. Last but not least, in the list of the micromasters is RAF, or RIF, which is the jet kit. Well, it's one of the jets from Superior. Chatperion, I should say. I used this mold because I really liked how I made the wings and the head with two colors, and I wanted to reuse it again. So there is nothing special about this compared to the other micromasters out there built. The backpack has, you know, holes and hinges. There is some details that you need to glue on the front of the jet with the windshield and the pointy end, but that's it. But the real special gimmick for this is the wings. The wings will just peg through, on this side, will just peg through and allow you to transform it without being glued, or they're not necessarily secured in place, but there should be enough friction that they're not gonna fall off. If they don't go through all the way and you have problems that you want to clear out the holes in the backpack, or you want to shorten a little bit the peg on the actual wing itself, but otherwise you should end up with something that is secure enough that you can do shake it from the wing and nothing falls off. So that's for the upper chest, all done. The head, as usual, goes on. Obviously you want to glue the ears on before you assemble, so you don't risk gluing everything else. And the lower legs, as usual, you have the notches at the front, you have the hips, ball joints, connect. This one actually snapped on me, but it's still managing to hold fairly securely, so I'm not gonna reprint it. And then peg everything together and you have the rubber mode. So you might want to fold the wings a little bit more, maybe, so that you got slimmer look from the front, and that's it. For vehicle mode, you might want to turn the head around so that you don't get too much of a visible head syndrome. The backpack nose cone folds up against the face. The arms, you might want to leave them open a little bit because they need to leave space for the legs to fold up. The wings fold down like that. And again, you want to make sure that they push through so they don't fall out. Legs, oh yeah, keeps falling. That's fine. We'll put them on again. Push everything through. Align things a little bit more. Maybe the hip is not turned the right way. But once it's done, you get rough in jet mode. And again, you want to make sure that maybe I glued the backpack at the wrong angle here. It looks a bit off center, but it does have a groove to glue the backpack and a hole in the back of the chest, so it should have been an easy job, but I managed to screw it up. But for all intent and purposes, this is what it should look like in jet mode. Be careful with the tips here because they're both jaggy, but also prone to breakage depending on how you print it. And as you can see, my ball joint for the hand is a bit loose, but it is what it is. With FDM printing, sometimes ball joints are not always as precise as you're expecting, but it does the job most of the time. So for combined mode, is not that difficult. You want to split it apart. This will go into the arm, and you might want to just fold the wings up a little bit like that, and the arms could probably go flush to the chest, or you can point them backwards a little bit to have that kind of look from the side. Let's see if you can see it a bit better. So that's for combined mode. So that is it for the micromasters. I'm gonna upload this as a first part, and then I'm gonna do a second part for the main body and combining everything together.